In January 2025, Santorini, the Greek island in the Aegean, began shaking. The ground trembled beneath one of the most beautiful places on Earth. At first, just mild tremors a few times a day. But within days, the quakes grew sharper and more frequent. Walls cracked across whitewashed buildings, and rocks tumbled from cliffs. Hotel pools overflowed, plates crashed to floors, and tourists panicked. The airport and port were flooded with people desperate to leave. Ferry tickets sold out in minutes, some waited 8 hours to escape. Others abandoned their cars and walked to the port on foot. In 1 month, about 12,000 quakes were officially recorded. Then Germany's GFZ Center ran an AI algorithm on the data. The AI detected hidden microquakes buried in background noise. The real count, more than 28,000, over 900 every single day. Over 11,000 residents fled Greece, declared a state of emergency. But the quakes were not what scared scientists most. 18 kilometers down, 300 million cubic meters of magma was pushing upward, enough to fill 120,000 Olympic pools. And this magma has not stopped, it is still rising right now. 3,600 years ago, this exact spot produced one of history's worst eruptions. It swallowed an entire civilization. And now that volcano is waking again. Santorini is not just a tourist destination. The island itself is a volcano. The white cliffs are the rim of a caldera, a crater from a collapsed volcano. The caldera spans 11 kilometers and drops 400 meters deep. It formed 3,600 years ago, when a massive eruption blew the island's center apart. Over 3.5 million visit yearly, yet few know they stand on a crater's edge. At the caldera's center sits Nea Kameni, a volcanic island right above the magma conduit. It last erupted in 1950, just 75 years ago. Tourists soak in sulfurous springs right on the volcano's heart. Sulfur gas still seeps from the rocks and surface. Temperatures run far above normal. Santorini sits on the Hellenic subduction zone, where the African plate dives beneath the Aegean. This collision melts rock into magma that pools in a reservoir beneath the caldera. Fresh magma continues feeding it from below. But Santorini hides a second volcano most people have never heard of. 7 kilometers northeast, the submarine Volcano, Colombo sits just 18 meters beneath the sea. In 1650, Colombo erupted and triggered a tsunami that killed over 70 on Santorini. Scientists long treated the two as separate systems. In 2025, that assumption was shattered. Evidence proved they connect deep underground through one vast magma network. Santorini's risk had to be recalculated from scratch. In early 2025, a joint team from Germany's GFZ and GEOMAR published a groundbreaking paper. Their conclusion, Santorini and Colombo are linked by a magma conduit, roughly 30 kilometers long. First time ever confirmed? Decades of assumption that the two were independent collapsed instantly. The team had deployed 56 ocean-bottom seismometers across the Aegean floor. These detect vibrations far too faint for humans to feel. They applied a deep learning AI algorithm to strip ocean noise, ship engines, and waves from the data. Under standard methods, about 12,000 quakes had been logged. The AI extracted hidden microquakes from the noise, and the total surged past 28,000. Mapping all 28,000 origins in 3D revealed a clear pattern. Magma was rising nearly vertically from 18 to 3 kilometers depth at remarkable speed. The volume around 300 million cubic meters. But the biggest shock came next. Tracing seismic wave paths exposed a conduit running 30 kilometers, northeast from Santorini's chamber. At its end sat Colombo. The two volcanoes share one deep root, a single colossal system. This overturned established volcanology. Monitoring networks had been built to watch volcanoes individually. This case proved hidden underground links can exist between them. Colombo's crater sits just meters below. Sea level and eruption could trigger an instant tsunami. If magma moves in one, the other feels it. Watching Santorini alone is not enough. What happened the last time this system erupted? Around 1600 BCE, Santorini produced a VEI-7 blast, matching the 1815 Tambora eruption that erased summer from 1816. The Minoan eruption may have equaled or surpassed Tambora. About 60 cubic kilometers of magma and ash were expelled. That could bury Seoul under 100 meters of ash. The eruption column reached 40 kilometers into the stratosphere. Ash and gas blocked sunlight, plunging the Mediterranean into darkness. Pyroclastic flows formed superheated clouds of gas, ash, and rock above 800 degrees Celsius. They raced across the sea at over 700 kilometers per hour. Their extreme density let them glide on a cushion of air above the water. Traces have been found on islands dozens of kilometers away. A 35-meter tsunami slammed into Crete, 110 kilometers distant. Crete was the heart of the Minoan civilization, the Mediterranean's greatest maritime power. The palace of Knossos was destroyed. The fleet was wiped out. Farmland was buried, trade routes severed, and food production collapsed. Within decades, the Minoans vanished from history. The island's center was obliterated in its place. The Caldera formed. Many scholars believe this is the true origin of Plato's Atlantis legend. An island swallowed by the sea, a civilization destroyed overnight. The model for that myth may well be Santorini. This volcano does not erupt just once and fall silent. Is what is happening now a repeat of 3,600 years ago? Scientists are cautious, not yet. But not yet does not mean safe. The current magma intrusion, 300 million cubic meters, is about 1/200th of the Minoan eruption's output. Not enough for a large-scale blast on its own. But the alarm is not about volume, it is about speed. The magma surged from 18 to 3 kilometers depth in possibly just weeks. This rapid vertical rise is a classic precursor seen before eruptions worldwide. The final rush of magma before a volcano blows matches this exact pattern. Of course, magma can stall and solidify midway, a process called intrusion arrest. Whether Santorini's magma has stopped or is merely pausing is still unclear. Other warning signs are emerging. Hydrothermal venting around Colombo has surged, with rising water temperatures and sulfur levels. Gas emissions near Kamini have tripled. Sea level inside the caldera has risen slightly, something below is swelling. All these signals appearing at once is what worries experts. Any single one might mean nothing, but all intensifying together suggests the whole system is activating. 45 monitoring instruments are running around the clock. Yet science still cannot predict exactly when a volcano will erupt. The great unknown remains if the magma keeps climbing at this rate. When does it hit the tipping point? And once it does, what happens next? The scariest scenario on Santorini is not the eruption itself. It is the evacuation. The island's permanent population is about 15,000. In summer, up to 18,000 tourists arrive daily by cruise ship and ferry. Total numbers can exceed 33,000, up to 5 cruise ships. Dock at once, each offloading 3,000 plus passengers, instant bottlenecks. The problem is geography. Villages cling to cliff tops, and virtually all traffic funnels through one road. The narrow switchback from Fira to Athenios. Port is the only vehicle route off the island. Even on normal days, buses, taxis, and rental cars jam it. During the January 2025 quakes, this road gridlocked completely. Residents and tourists converged on the port, simultaneously paralyzing all movement. Some waited over 8 hours, others abandoned cars and walked. The port offered little relief. Ferry departures are limited, and each vessel has a cap. The airport runway handles only small aircraft. The island has one hospital with fewer than 10 critical care beds. A mass casualty event would overwhelm it instantly. Many buildings lack seismic reinforcement. They are centuries-old homes and churches. If a quake collapses the cliff road, the route to port vanishes. If Colombo erupts first and sends a tsunami, the port is destroyed, no sea escape. Airlifting 33,000 people is physically impossible. In February 2025, Greece ran its largest ever evacuation drill on Santorini. Navy and Air Force joined Italy and Turkey participated. Results were not reassuring. Experts warned thousands could be trapped in a peak season crisis. The most beautiful island could become the deadliest trap. Santorini still shows the most beautiful sunset on Earth. From the cliffs of Oya, the sun sinks into the caldera in a blaze of gold. Over 3.5 million people come each year just for this view. White walls, blue domes, deep navy water, a scene beyond imagination. But few know where this beauty comes from. The cliffs are scars from an explosion 3,600 years ago. The caldera's water fills a crater the volcano blasted into being. The rock beneath the buildings is ancient. Volcanic debris hardened over millennia. Everything visitors admire was born from destruction. A cruel lesson: the most stunning landscapes often come from the most devastating forces. And that force is stirring again. 300 million cubic meters of magma is rising. Santorini and Colombo are one connected system. The 28,000 quakes were a warning. Sulfur gas still rises from Kamini. Bubbles stream from the caldera floor. Seismographs twitch hundreds of times daily. Scientists watch their screens trying to tell if the magma has stalled or is catching its breath. They say a large eruption right now is unlikely, but unlikely and impossible are different words. 3,600 years ago, this volcano erased a civilization in one night. Volcanoes always erupt again. The only question is when. The Minoans had no science to warn them.